are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome. I really want to know podcast, man. How y'all doing? This is a stream I was going to do later on in the week, but I'm using a new camera. So I wanted to get this going with the new cam, and I figured might as well do it now. It's like I might as well do it now. Um, it is what it is, and there's a lot going on. There's so much to talk about, y'all. So much. I know we've been focusing on a lot of the red pill stuff, the dating stuff, and all that, which is great. Y'all know I love talking about that, but it's so much going on, bro, that I'm thinking we should talk about what's going on with the banking stuff, bro. Another bank done failed, man. Another US bank has failed. It happened. The news hit Friday. It's always when this stuff happens, it always happens, like late Friday, close of business Friday. I wonder why, because they don't want to affect the markets, perhaps. Happened Friday. So I saw it on Saturday. I caught the news Saturday watching George Gammon. He put out a quick little, video about it, bro. Man, we definitely got to talk about this, bro. Let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Some indeed, bro. Get some indeed. Oh man, shout out to Brother Grills, shout out to Sister Shushu for putting that together. I know they did it a long time ago, but still, I still gotta give them their flowers, man, for doing such good work. Brother Pitney's already in the building. What's good, fam? How you doing, man? Like, what a treat. What a treat, man. I appreciate that, bro. We just gonna jump on real quick. Like I said, I wanted to try the new camera. I got a Sony ZV-1F. And just want to see how it works. I want to, I think I got the settings right. I was gonna use this for IRL stuff. I was gonna do in real life stuff, and I probably still will. I have the Rhodes wireless mics as well. So I got I went and bought one of these remote control thingies right here. One of these things so I can mount the camera and control it. There's a remote control that comes off. I can control the camera remotely. I'm probably still going to do it. It's just waiting for summer to hit, and I haven't done any in real life stuff ever before. So eventually I will. And I'm like, man, the camera is sitting there. Like, let me put the camera on and see what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. Brother Pitney, yeah, he's like, yes, they announced that stuff on weekends so that the markets don't go completely crazy. A similar tactic is employed when companies have bad earnings reports. Facts, bro. They wait till the last second because they still have to comply with the law, but they wait. And you know what? This is an election cycle, so the White House and the Democrats don't mind because this is bad news, definitely for the incumbent, who happens to be Joe Biden. This is bad news. But again, the way they spend this, bro, is like, oh, don't look over here. It's not a problem. But this keeps happening. You know what I mean? First Republic went down a year ago with Silicon Valley and all the rest of them out there. That was the West Coast stuff. Now we're on the East Coast stuff, and it's Republic first. So when I saw this right away, I was like, whoa. If you're a wealthy person out there, if you got a lot of money, make sure you keep all of your accounts under the FDIC limit, because anything over $250,000 is not guaranteed. Remember that. And we're going to get into that, as we talk about this particular story. But keep that in mind, guys. If you're out there, you got a lot of money, be careful how you place your money, because, in the banks, the FDIC guarantees money, but only up to a point. So keep that in mind, guys. And if you're just like everyone else, just regular folks, you really don't have anything to worry about. The government your money is protected up to $250,000 per account, per deposit or whatever. So you ain't got nothing to worry about. But a lot of people, they worry anyway. That's when you get run on banks and all that. But we got to cover this story, man. We got to cover this story. Who do we go to? Who are the people that I like to go to and listen to when these sort of things happen? George Gammon, the rebel capitalist, Danielle DiMartino Booth, you know what I mean? And then who else? Gosh, doggy, there's another one out there, man. I love to listen to. His name would come to me. He was just on PBD too here recently. And what did I do? Those people I like to listen to. Is it Paul? I'll have to look it up right now. I have to look it up right now. Now I gotta look it up. Now I gotta look it up. Um, and I don't know why I always forget his name, but it always fails me. And he was recently on PBD's podcast. Um, he's also another one of the talking heads that people love to listen to. And he makes a lot of sense to me. He was I can't find it. So when I do, I'll let y'all know because he was just on PBD not that long ago. I don't even think it was a month to be honest with you guys. So hey, sorry, can't remember, but he's the third person I like to listen to when it comes to this sort of thing. It's late. It's been a long weekend, guys. My bad. My bad for not being able to remember the brother's name. I've even done a video or two on him. In fact, the most successful video I've ever done was on this brother. So it's I'm just kind of going through PBD stuff, man. And Patrick Bet David, man, he's talked to everybody. Here he is, right here. Peter Schiff. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, brother Peter, for forgetting your name. My bad. Peter Schiff. I like to listen to him when he talks about these things. Now, Peter Schiff he's a gold guy. He's always talking about placing your assets, placing your money in gold is a good hedge against what's going on out here. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about any of this stuff, man. I don't give any kind of advice. This ain't financial advice. All I like to do is try to figure things out. You know what I mean? That's what we're doing over here. And we get the information, we put it through the old
think tank. Arch, nothing gets past the old think tank. Nothing.
We just put it through the think tank, man. Brother Viking checking in. What's good, fam? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, man. The Miami event for Fresh and Fit, man, looks like it was a success, bro. They had the couple hiccups. Always going to be a couple hiccups when you do live events. The whole thing on stage with old boy, the ex-convict dude, yelling at what's his name, calling him soft or whatever. It is what it is. And then there was a couple hiccups with the yacht party. I think a couple guys couldn't get on. It is what it is. But from what I gather, those were the only potholes. And if that's the case, that's very successful, man. So shout out to Myron, shout out to Fresh and the whole Fresh and Fit family, man, for pulling off, their first solo live event. I couldn't make it down. I ain't gonna lie to you, a little bummed out about that, but I couldn't get down. Really like to support the Fresh and Fit fam, and I really like Miami. So any excuse to go to Miami normally is good enough for me. And there it is. Yeah, Wes Walton, man. Colin Andrew Wilson, soft. Was interesting, bro. I mean, it is what it is. I think that'll be, it'll be a lot of talk about that on the internet, bro, especially in the manosphere or whatever. That's one of the big problems with the manosphere. People get lost in the side show. They get lost in the side show. And that doesn't help anyone, especially those guys trying to figure it out. But it is what it is. This is part of that true red pill lens. You got to see through all that, bro. You got to see through it. Like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to stay focused on what I need to be focused on and get where I need to get. And it's, it is what it is. But when you talk about clickbait, I mean, even Rolo was talking about it tonight. I didn't watch it. I was too busy running around, but I noticed that Rolo was, talking about it. I'll definitely watch the clips and stuff on that. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to talk about another bank just failed. Here's what you need to know. This is from the Rebel Capitalist on YouTube. Please, 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 if you haven't done so, go over and subscribe. That's George Gammon's site, the Rebel Capitalist, and just check out his stuff, man. I'm not saying the guy's preaching the gospel. I'm not saying he's some sort of oracle. I'm just saying he's a really rich resource when it comes to this sort of thing. He gives you insight into that world. And then you can go listen to Peter Schiff. You can listen to Danielle DiMartino Booth, and they'll really take you into the weeds and drill down on the numbers and really let you know what's going on. People keep saying the economy is going great, nothing to see here. We're not in a recession or anything like that. But there are voices out there that say, I don't know. I don't know. If you look at the true numbers, if you look past the headline numbers and then go back and look at the adjusted numbers, and then you look at stuff like this, banks are closing. I mean, how healthy can we be? So let's pull this up and listen to what Brother George Gammon has to say about this particular bank closing. And so we're going to start with George Gammon, but we do have some an Associated Press article. We got a couple Yahoo Finance articles. So we're going to look at to kind of try to tie all this together, guys, because this is a lot to take in, especially for normal folks. There's people out here just on their ground trying to make $1 out of 15 cents, which is getting harder and harder. People in the trenches, they understand it. Things cost more. The purchasing power is way down. I just filled up my gas tank, bro, like $100. Those are LA numbers. You know what I mean? Filling up your gas tank for $100 in LA is normal. In Florida, it is not. Something's going on. If I'm paying $100 out here in Tampa, what are they paying in LA? What are they paying in San Francisco? You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. Look at how much groceries are. Look at how much fast food is. But we're at the point now is like, bro, gotta eat healthy, man. Can't afford to eat the junk food. Got to go out and buy your stuff. Got to go out and start looking at coupons. I'm gonna do a show on that, bro. Figure out how to get the best coupons out there, man. Like, it's really crazy. Brother Vikings, like, yeah. It's like, yeah, I have guys before that have been locked up that really do get triggered by weak, soft looking guys. Yeah, bro. I mean, there are dudes out there who do. I mean, most of the people I know who've been locked up, man, they had to sit down for some real crimes, bro. They was happy to get out, and they weren't trying to mess up their parole or, go back in over something as simple as somebody being soft, bro. Like, it is what it is. You be soft if you want. There's a lot of people out there who are soft. There are people out there who are hard, and there's everything in between. Yeah. I'll say this, and I'm gonna move on to what we came to talk about. I'll say this: if you're an ex-convict, bro, you do not live in everybody else's world. You got priors, you done did time, you do not live in everybody else's world. You are not going to get the benefit of the doubt. So whatever it is you out there doing, you want to get tough, you want to get big, right? Just understand, no matter what it is you do, when the police come and they run your name, they got to get your ID, they run your name and it come back. You got priors, you did time, you're a convict. And if it come back, you on papers, which means you're on, you're out on probation. Hey, bro, they about to make you sit down. You ain't coming out. You know what I mean? You ain't coming out for something petty. Petty. Go ahead and hit somebody if you want to. Like, go ahead and do that. Watch what happens to you. You're going to finish the time that you were supposed to do in the first place before they let you out, and you're going to have to deal with the new case. Cases. However many charges they throw on you, they going to throw a lot. So I just tell dudes all the time, bro. I tell dudes all the time, like, hey, you know what I mean? Chill out with that. Unless you're trying to go back in. There's a lot of people who they can't stay out of the institution, man. There's dudes out there who just can't stay out of the institution. That is what it is. You know what I mean? Me, I ain't trying to get locked up. I ain't never been locked up. That ain't nothing I'm trying to do. I tell dudes all the time, like, stay out of the penitentiary, stay out of the state jails, stay out of that, bro. Stay out of all that. But let's get into what Brother George Gammon has to say, man. Again, this came out yesterday. Early yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And I just right away went, went to all the news sites that I look at to see what was going on. And sure enough, Brother George Gammon was telling the truth. Here we go.
Hope you're well. So I want to do a quick live stream here on Saturday because we've got big news in the banking system. I'm sure a lot of you have heard we had another bank go bust, and you're going to get a kick out of the name. Josh, I know we did a video on this bank probably 2 months ago because I remember making fun of the name of the bank back then. And now, sure enough, they haven't gone full retard, but they've gone full bust. Maybe that's the same thing. They only got about halfway there when we did that last video. So let's shoot over. Let me do a screen share. And we're going to go over to the Wall Street Journal. I've got some highlights here. The name is not First Republic. bank, but Republic First. I'm not making this up. This proves that we're living in a simulation along with everything else that happens in our daily lives as of the last 3 or 4 years. So First Republic, Silicon Valley Bank, Signature, they all went bust March, oddly enough, 1 year ago, 2023. And now all of a sudden, Republic First, the inverse of its cousin, First Republic, just went bust. Smaller bank, but the real important details on this story are hiding beneath the surface. So let's go down, check it out. Republic First faced some of the same problems of the 3 regional banks that failed last year. Paper losses on bonds that lost value as interest rates rose, and high proportions of uninsured deposits that can quickly flee. And we've gone over this over and over and over, so I'm not going to address the back end mechanics as to why, like Silicon Valley Bank went bust, but they pretty much summed it up right there. So bottom line, they're having the same problems. The first questions that came to my mind is, okay, so if they were facing the exact same problems the banks faced 1 year ago, not 1 day ago, not 1 week ago, but 1 year ago. And like I said, I know they've been in the news for the last, or on and off, for the last couple months having problems, because Josh and I did a story on this bank because I remember making fun of the name.
So right off rip, he has a great point there. Like, first of all, they said, well, they had trouble, internally with some of the loans. They had trouble with the interest rates going up and staying up, and uninsured depositors taking their money out, which is what I said at the very top of this stream. Like, if you have over $250,000 in an account, you need to get it out of there. So it seems, before we even get into this, the people in New York caught wind of this. Like, the rich folks, like, hey, they know what's going on. Something was going on, so they pulled their money out above $250,000. So all those people who are sitting, they got 2 million, 3 million, 5 million parked in there, 800,000 parked in there, 300, 400,000 parked in there. They just took it out. They took it out, and so now you have this money disappearing. The banks are forced to, they're forced to liquidate bonds before maturity, which means they're going to take a penalty on that. They're forced to do it because the government requires that they keep a certain amount of money on hand, right? And again, I'm no expert in all this, but it's the exact same thing that happened out west, right? The exact same thing. Silicon Valley, First Republic, Citizens. I think it was Citizens out there. There's another bank out there. It's the same thing that happened out west. The exact same thing, and it's happened a year later. And this is the point that George is trying to make. George Gamma's like, bro, this thing just happened yesterday or 2 weeks ago. This was a year ago, and everyone was told that the Americans' banking system is fine. We're good. We're beyond that, and here we are. This is what happens when you kick stuff down the road. Brother Pablo in the building was good, fam. He's like, yeah, I watch the channel sometimes. I also watch him on Fresh and Fit. Yeah, man, I'm a big fan of George Gamma, bro. He's been on Fresh and Fit multiple times. I've seen every episode. I look forward to bumping into this brother one day, man. I definitely would love to meet him. He has an event in Orlando coming up in a few weeks. Just under a month, I think it is. The Rebel Capitalist event he does every year. I'm going to try real hard to get over to Orlando. It's going to be some folks coming down, all over, going to be in Orlando for this conference. I'm going to try to make it over there myself. And brother Pablo continues. He's like, rumor has it Daisy is not having a child. You caught it, bro. There's no way. Like I said, bro, I don't believe she is pregnant in the first place, bro. It's just, we've seen this so many times. She's just mad, man. She went full kamikaze. We're going to talk about it again. We're going to talk, because she's going to announce at some point. She's going to announce, and when she does, we're going to talk about this again. 100%, bro. We're going to talk about it, man. It is what it is, man. It's all about, it's a money play, man. She mad. She invests money in that guy, and she couldn't get it back. Brother Pitney, fractional reserve banking seems to be causing more problems than it solves. I think the problems come with deregulation, bro. That's where the problems lie. You know, you have to regulate this sort of thing. We've proved over and over and over, time and time again, they can't regulate themselves, bro. Not only that, but we've given them the green light to gamble because they're like, hey, the government's going to backstop it, bro. The government's going to bail you out if you go too far. That was the only thing that kept banks in check. And once that housing thing happened, and the only bank that failed was Lehman Brothers, right? The rest of them were just as bad as Lehman Brothers. All those banks should have failed. There were banks who were ready. It handled that housing crisis, right? Subprime mortgage thing. There were banks that didn't participate in that. There were lending institutions that didn't participate in that. And they should have moved up to the top. And those people at the top, and Citi's one of them, like, B of A, Citi, Merrill, like all these banks and financial institutions should have been allowed to fail, in my opinion. But they weren't. And that sent a message. That sent the message right there. Brother Man Drill's in the building. What's good, fam? But yeah, this was a year ago. A year ago, we were talking about this, and now we're dealing with the same problems, right? Why is that? Because the situation wasn't fixed. And again, everyone was sitting there, fingers crossed, hoping that the interest rates will go down again, and that's not going to happen.
So they've had a year to figure out these problems. Question number one, why didn't they hedge? Why? They've had a year, for heaven's sakes. Why wouldn't that be the very first thing they did if the only problem here with the banking system is simply the fact they have some 10-year treasuries that went up in yield? And I'm just using 10-year treasuries as a proxy for, the long end of the curve. That makes absolutely no sense. Oh, but wait, there is more. I actually wrote some notes for this one. How about the discount window? Remember that? Remember Fed is pushing everyone to the discount window. As long as you got some decent collateral, you can go ahead and post it there, and we'll give you all the liquidity you need. Remember, we, the Federal Reserve, are the lender of last resort. So why didn't they go to the discount window? And if they didn't, what does that tell you about the discount window itself as far as being a bailout? If you want to look at it, it might be a bailout in the eyes of the Federal Reserve, but the banks, for whatever reason, see it as something that is totally off limits. In fact, just by using it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So whenever the Federal Reserve comes out, the point here is whenever the Federal Reserve comes out and says, oh, don't worry about this, don't worry about that, or you hear the talking heads on CNBC saying, oh, worry about the banking system, whatever. Yeah, okay, fear monger. You don't realize that Jerome Powell has a tool for that. It's called the discount window. Duh. We see how effective it was. And the third thing, and probably the most shocking item when I read this story, is the fact that the BTFP just expired March 11th. So it wasn't that long ago. So if they've had the exact same problems of all these other banks that went bust 1 year ago, A, why didn't they hedge? B, why didn't they use the discount window? And if you say because they didn't get 100 cents on the dollar to the discount window, then why the hell didn't they go to the BTFP?
So what Brother George is talking about, and this a lot of terms he's using that I don't even fully understand because I ain't in that world at all. But I do understand a little bit of what he's talking about. He's saying, why didn't the bank go and utilize all of the help that the federal government had out there for all of these banks, especially regional banks? Why didn't they go get the help? Why didn't they hedge these things? They know what they have going on in their books. Why aren't they trying to position themselves to handle the losses that they surely know are coming? And the government was going to give them help. Why didn't they do these things? That's what he's talking about. And he's using terms I can't even, that the BT, whatever, I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? And then they'll be talking about the repo window and all that kind of stuff. And I really don't know what that stuff is. I'm gonna find a real banking person and get them on the show so they can tell us what these terms are and how the banks move money amongst each other between the Fed, because you got the Federal Reserve and you got like government stuff, like which you have the Janet Yellen and the Secretary of Treasury, like she's in charge of that. So you got that. So you got the government, real government with the Treasury. And then you have the Federal Reserve, which is not supposed to be government, but they're very political, but they ain't supposed to be political, right? They're controlling the levers so they can keep inflation and all that under control. They control, the interest rates, but they're working hand in glove with Treasury. And then you have the banks, the big banks, the medium-sized banks, the small banks, and what they're doing with each other. And then you have the International Monetary Fund and all those outside entities. Bro, it is a nightmare trying to figure out what's going on with this stuff. You have to know, like, you got to be in that world. You don't have to go to college to figure it out, but it takes time to sit down and try to figure out how that shit works. And there it is. See, Brother Pitney, keeper of the wisdom, the Bank Term Funding Program, BTFP. Thank you, brother. You know what I mean? Brother Penny was saying regulation only seems to help in the short term. Banks are crafty and they will find workarounds to maximize profits. They keep holding the government hostage by claiming they're too big to fail. That is a fact. But here's the thing. The government keeps falling for it like a blind roofer. All the government has to do is say no. Just like they did with Lehman. Say no. And then what happens is the banks are convinced the government that, hey, you let us all crash. You let us all fail at the same time. It's going to crash. The economy is going to crash. Everything. America's going to get hurt. Bottom line, your people are going to get kicked out of office. They'll never be, like, the Democrats will never be elected again. The Republicans will never be elected again, whoever's in office when this happens, right? And what I think the government should do is like, well, that's what we're going to do. We're about to burn it all down. We're about to burn it all down. Or they could say, hey, if we bail you out, we're taking everybody's money. No more golden parachutes. None of that. Right. So you're CEO and all you shareholders and all that money y'all got. You ain't gonna burn this thing down. You're not gonna break the system and walk away with hundreds of millions of dollars. We're taking all that. We're taking all your money because you screwed this up. And if they did that, yeah, that's the kind of regulation I'm talking about. Like, hold on, no more golden parachutes. Hold on, they're gonna look into what we did and actually lock us up. Hold on, they're gonna make sure that America doesn't go through this again. If they did that, that's what happened. But you got politicians who are bought and paid for. And it is what it is, right? Controlled collapse. Brother Cody in the building. Cody is king. That's what I'm calling for, is a controlled collapse, bro. That's what I'm calling for. Does that make me a radical? I guess. But this has to stop. I mean, this has to stop. And people are so busy dealing with their everyday lives, trying to figure out how they're going to feed their family, how they're going to pay their bills, how they're going to pay for insurance, how they're going to pay for gas, how they're going to keep the car going. They don't have time to really think this stuff through. And I think that is a problem. You know what I mean? And that's it. Brother Pitney is right. Like, the government doesn't want to deal with the fallout. No politician wants to be caught holding the hot potato when the defecation hits the oscillator. That's right, bro. Yes. They do not want to be standing there when the defecation hits the oscillator. Ain't that the truth? Right? But we're going to have to get some politicians who are brave enough to do it. We just need a handful of politicians who are brave enough to do it. They're ready to leave anyway. They're ready to leave DC. They don't need any more money, right? They're prepared for it. They got their money stashed in crypto or wherever they got it stashed in, wherever it is, it's sold up in their mattress, wherever, and they're ready for the big correction. I just don't know if that's going to happen, but it should. I really think it should.
Let's remember, just because it closed March 11th doesn't mean that you had to immediately pay the money back. No, there's a year grace period. So this Republic First Bank could have gone to the BTFP March 10th and said, hey, Fed, here's all this garbage collateral or treasuries, let's just say that we have to take a 70% haircut if we go ahead and sell them into the market to get the liquidity we need, because we have all this deposit flight, but you're going to give us 100 cents on the dollar. Why didn't they do that? This makes no sense at all. Let's keep going. Well, I guess that's all I liked about that article. Let's go on to the next one. The Financial Times. Oh, I'm sorry. What I wanted to, the next thing I just remembered. The next thing I wanted to point out was this article, and most of the mainstream media is saying, oh, nothing to worry about here. Yes, another banking failure, but this doesn't have anything to do with the economy, because we all know the economy is on fire. The economy is booming. The economy is actually too hot right now. I mean, you can tell how hot the economy is just by how many banks are failing. Oh, they just don't want you to say, oh, look, bank failure? No. I think that's Elvis over there. Yep, that you got to see this. Sweeping under the rug. That's what's going on right here. But I wanted to point out that the mainstream media is saying that this is a big nothing burger. Don't listen to those people on the alternative media. Don't listen to that George Gammon guy on YouTube, because Fulton Financial Bank, or Fulton Financial, has come in and purchased all of the assets and the liabilities of Republic First. So there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Okay, well, now let's go over and think about another bank that has been in the news recently that has gotten themselves into big trouble. In fact, they were on the brink of going bust, and they still are, to the point where this Steve Mnuchin guy has to come in with all of his political connections to try to save what is left.
So right there. So they're saying it's not a problem. This Republic First Bank is going under, but Fulton Financial is going to take care of that. We already got it all worked out. Y'all can sleep easy. Right? That's what they're saying. Now, let me stop this screen. I want to pull up another one. Okay, I'm gonna say that for later. I wanted to look at something real quick. I'm gonna save that for later. I'll pull this back up now. So another bank is gonna come out and take over and buy out this bank that's failing. No, not failing, that failed. They're gonna buy out the bank that failed, and everything's gonna be everything. And again, all this came out Friday, late Friday. And we're gonna have to wait until tomorrow to see how the markets react to it. You know, and if y'all think that that's not by design, you gotta be crazy. The regulators knew this bank was in trouble. The regulators probably knew this stuff, 2 or 3 weeks ago. They knew it was like it's just a matter of time. They're not gonna make it. Let's wait till Friday late to break this information out to everybody else, which is crazy. Brother D Mac is in the building. What's good, fam? It's like, unfortunately, we need a reset. We cannot sustain this rate of inflation. Average man can't afford a home. Facts. Can't afford a home. It used to be that 2 out of 3 Americans could afford a home. This is what maybe 5 to 8 years ago, something like that. Now, only 1 in 3 can afford a home. Barely that. I mean, you look at someplace like California, New York, it's like, bro, who can afford to live out there? Making $150,000 a year and you still can't afford to buy a house. You know what I mean? But we need the reset. We need the reset, y'all. I mean, we keep playing this game because they don't want the 1%ers to get hurt, and the 1%ers understand that. So they just keep going for broke. They just keep going crazy with it because they know where the government's going to backstop this. The government's going to bail us out. And who gets hurt? The average dude, the average man, the average woman. They're getting crushed at the bottom because we're artificially holding this stuff up. At least that's how I see it. I mean, what do I know? Oh, I'm just an old man sitting in his attic talking to his computer, right?
What was the big problem with New York Community? Oh, that's right. They bought all of the assets and liabilities of Signature Bank. Just like Fulton Financial is buying all of the assets and liabilities of this garbage Republic First Bank. I always get a kick out of this. It's like the balance sheet was totally toxic for this bank, to the point where they couldn't even use the discount window, to the point where they couldn't even hedge, to the point where they somehow couldn't even have been bailed out by the BTFP. But yet, magically, if this horrific balance sheet goes over to and is absorbed by another one, it just magically becomes pristine. Like, how does that one work? So my point is, we've got to put Fulton Financial on the good old watch list here. And I would be very surprised if they don't run into the same problems that New York Community Bank has been running into lately. But there are a couple more points of this Financial Times article that I wanted to discuss. The number one, and by the way, this was the Wall Street Journal was from yesterday. This article was from March 7th, just to be clear. So a few weeks old here. The number of problem banks in the U.S. has jumped 18%, regulators warned, as New York Community Bank was stabilized by a $1 billion capital raise by former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. I have no proof of this, but just using some common sense, we've got New York Community Bank. So my assumption is there's a lot of these politicians, these Wall Street types that probably have accounts there, and they have connections with Mnuchin, and so he's just bailing out his buddies. I think just providing liquidity for them to transfer their assets, the bank's liabilities, somewhere else. And why didn't they do that with Republic First? Because it's in Philadelphia. And none of the Wall Street guys that have yachts that are parked about 100 feet away from my Airbnb have accounts with Republic First. They have all their accounts with New York Community Bank. And honestly, the more time I spend here in St. Bart's, and the more of these Wall Street types, hedge fund managers, investment bankers, yada, 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 that I spend time with, you realize how a lot of what happens in U.S. politics and in financial markets is a factor of who you know.
That's absolutely 100% correct. Why wouldn't it be? Why normally this is why we were talking about the reset. It's not going to happen because the politicians are bought and paid for by the 1%. The 1% is tied into the banking system. They're tied into all these big corporations and all that. They're not going to let that happen. And when they see a problem, before they call Janet Yellen, before they call, the Fed, Jerome Powell, before they call the president, before they call the White House or anything like that, they call their buddies. Why wouldn't they? Right? If brother Pitney's out there, he's sitting there and he's one of the bank regulators, and his people bring him the information to say, hey man, this Republic First Bank's about to go down. And brother Pitney knows, like, hey, that's a bank. I know my people bank with them. He gonna get on the phone with me. He gonna get on the phone with D-Mac. He's gonna get on the phone with brother Cody and Mandrill and all the rest of us and say, hey man, this bank is in some real problems, man. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. So in the meantime, pull y'all money out slowly. But in the meantime, we're going to get this popping and we're going to make sure y'all money is good. Right? Then I'm going to call, right? Then I'm going to get on the phone and call, the White House. Then I'm going to get on the phone with Jerome Powell. Then I'm going to get on the phone with Janet Yellen. I'm going to take care of my homies first. That's what they're doing. I'm not even mad at that. That's what they're in the 1% for. Right? That's it. Why do you think they kick it? Why do you think they came together in the first place? You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. Brother Pitney and brother D-Mac is like, agreed. Some form of reset is necessary. However, I don't believe the Fed when they say they can pull off a soft landing. It's literally never been done before. That's a fact. It's not going to be a soft landing. We're in it now. There is no answer for what's going on in the commercial real estate sector. There's no answer for it. And all these people are stuck. These regional banks are stuck. Here's another. Look at another regional bank biting the dust. Brother D-Mac. Like, here's my theory. Digital assets, crypto, will allow us to tokenize everything on the blockchain, moving us from an inflationary system to a deflationary system. BlackRock spoke on it. My thing with that is the government is afraid of blockchain. They're afraid of digital currency because they can't control it completely. They can't control it. No one entity can control it, and that's why they don't like it. That's why they're trying to go to these government-backed, blockchains or whatever. They want to go to some form of, U.S. coin, like U.S., crypto coin or whatever, a form of currency they control. As it is right now, they can't do nothing. They can't control Bitcoin. They can't, Ethereum or whatever chain, whatever comes out there, they can't control it. No one can control it. Look at the Tates. How come they haven't really broken the Tates all the way down? Because the Tates, the vast majority of their wealth is in crypto, and no one knows where it is. No one can control it. No one. So until they figure out a way to control crypto, I don't see that happening, bro. But something has to give. And Brother Penny is saying the BTFD requires collateralization. The Fed can purchase from them. If things at Republic First were bad enough, they may not have had eligible collateral to offer the Fed to participate in the program. That's exactly what happened, bro. They were too messed up. They were too messed up. Even the Feds like, we can't touch that. So what they do, they had to go to their homeboys. Hey, we need y'all to kick in. We need everybody to kick in 100 million or something like that. That's where they got that money from to save them. That's what, and we're going to talk about NYCB here in a little bit. You know what I mean? And yeah, like look at Brother Pitney. He was like, ooh, some information I don't have in the books. We don't have to get where, how'd you find that? So I could put that in the book of knowledge. Brother Pablo, Silicon Valley Bank got bailed out by the Federal Reserve because of its $1 million clients that are also Democrat fundraisers. Facts. That is true, right? The same thing is going on in New York right now, but because most of that was, that was Silicon Valley money, like money from the Silicon Valley, that sector. What am I trying to say here? Yes, it's the same thing as what's going on right now. It's just different sectors of the same 1%. And what Janet Yellen did was she gave a verbal promise to backstop. So she was like, hey, don't pull your money out, leave it there. We're just going to backstop it. We're going to ensure those deposits, no matter how much money is in there, because that would have triggered something they couldn't stop. So that's what they did. That's a lot of backroom stuff going on here. It's a lot of people having cigars and sipping on cognacs, sitting in those back rooms. Hey, don't worry, guys, we're going to take care of this. There's a lot of that going on. But they don't do that for us. But you're right, Brother Pablo. It's the same thing. They getting that help. You know what I mean? They all do it. I keep telling folks, man, they ask me about politics. I'm like, bro, they're all controlled by the 1%, man. Republicans and Democrats alike. It doesn't matter. There's no one there. It's very few people in DC that ain't bought and paid for it, man. Very few. Yeah, Powell, he also believes the inflation will be transitory. And Yellen said the same thing, and they both had to come out and say, oh, we were wrong. They both did come out and say they were wrong, and it did affect the markets for a little bit. Brother D, like DMAC, bro, BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, and other major financial institutions have told you what they plan to do. BlackRock runs the world, bro. Nobody could get a Bitcoin ETF through the SEC. When BlackRock filed the paperwork, it was done. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. See, this is like Brother D-Mac. I rely on you guys more because this isn't my world. I'm so far removed from this world. But when I hear what's going on, at the end of the day, bro, it doesn't take much to put it together. It's like, hey, man, they're gambling. They're going too hard. They're not hedging their bets, man. They went out there, they got caught with their hand in a cookie jar again. This is another bank. Hand in a cookie jar again. There are more out there. And they keep saying, oh, we got these stress tests to show that all these banks are doing good. All right, they're going to talk about stress tests in a minute. They're going to talk about it in a minute. Your brother Pablo was saying the stock market is socialist, not free enterprise. Right. And that's what George Gammon is about. George Gammon, Peter Schiff, those guys are about true capitalism. Not what's going on now. You know what I mean? It's like a hybrid of socialist capitalism is going on right now. No, they're for true capitalism. What does that mean? If you make a mistake, you're gone. That's it. The market corrects for all. But if you mess with the market, we get into situations like this. And they're talking about a soft landing. There's no way. It's no way.
Not really what you know. But let's get back to the article. FDIC on Thursday said the number of weak U.S. banks has risen by 8 to 52 in the final 3 months of 2023.
Damn.
And keep in mind, this was a few weeks ago. so now I would assume it's risen by a lot more than that. They said that in and of itself was the biggest jump since the demise of Silicon Valley Bank. Delinquencies in credit card and commercial real estate loans were on the rise. And we're now at the highest level in almost a decade. Let me repeat. Delinquencies in credit card and commercial real estate loans were on the rise, the FDIC said. And we're now at the highest levels in almost a decade. Yet the economy's on fire.
Bro, y'all see that right there, though? Y'all see that, man? The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, on Thursday said the number of weak U.S. banks had risen by 8 to 52 in the final 3 months of 2023. That's the biggest jump since the demise of Silicon Valley Bank. So if things are getting better, how come the number keeps going up? Like, it keeps going up. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. Bro, that number has to be way over 52 by now. And how come, this is the biggest thing too. My biggest question is, how come this stuff ain't headline news? We know why. Because if this were headline news, people would get nervous, start pulling their money out of all sorts of stuff, including the stock market. Right? People will start pulling, grabbing their money and maybe, I don't know, putting it in stuff like gold, right? Precious metals. You know, they're gonna, put them into treasuries. They want to put them into government-backed stuff. They don't want to take a lot of risk here. You feel me? They'll definitely take their money out of houses that they've been buying it so they can rent out, because people aren't able to pay. If people aren't paying their credit card debt back first, people aren't paying their car loans, what's next? They're not going to be able to pay their mortgage. Right? So all those people who bought all those corporations bought all these homes, and they bought them as an investment because they're going to make, 6%, 7%, whatever it is. And now they're looking at this as like, man, this is some risk. What are you going to do? You're going to kick these people out? That costs money. And if you kick people out, they're going to tear the house up. You got to fix the house back up. That costs money. Right? So, bro, we're just dancing on the precipice, bro. We are just here dancing on the edge.
And by the way, how do we have sustained levels of consumer price inflation if everyone is defaulting on their debt payments to the bank? Like, those two really don't jive. More on that in just a moment. NYCB, New York Community Bank, a mid-sized U.S. lender with more than $100 billion in assets. And I highlighted this next line for a reason, which was not on the FDIC naughty list. I want to point that out. New York Community Bank, when they started experiencing all these problems, was not on the FDIC watch list, the naughty list, the bust list, whatever you want to call it. And by the way, nor was Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic, or Signature when they went bust. And in fact, Credit Suisse, if my memory serves me well, had just passed one of these stupid stress tests by Basel III, or whatever the regulatory group was, like weeks prior to them waving the white flag. So let's keep going down the article and you'll see why I'm emphasizing that so much. Oh, and here we go. Hudson Bay Capital, Reverence Capital Partners, and hedge fund Citadel are co-investing in the deal, which closes money. This is basically bailing out New York Community Bank. And if you don't remember Citadel, let's go back to GameStop. Remember GameStop and what happened? If you saw that movie, Citadel, Ken Griffin, he's the big player there, kind of the ultimate financial insider that's moving around all these kind of chess pieces. He's the go-to guy for the bailout. But as we know with GameStop, I can assure you one thing, he ain't going to be losing money. Or he's just scratching the back of some of his buddies, bailing them out for future favors that will be due whenever he runs into any problem or needs a little bit of a little bit of wink wink nod nod help.
You know what's funny about that, because everyone's talking about how Jerome Powell is going to have to be the one who, in the Fed Reserve, they have to make the right moves in order for this to go the way we needed to go. And then you got, Janet Yellen in second and Treasury. Yeah, they got to make the right moves. Is this Citadel, the dude who owns Citadel sounds like he's the one who's controlling all of the levers. He's the one making all the power plays. This guy, like, this is the dude who can create the soft landing or the hard landing. See, this is what technology has done, bro. If it weren't for this type of technology, like this Sony ZV-1F, right? This Lenovo laptop, the YouTube platform itself, we wouldn't be able to see and compare notes and talk, right? It'd just be a handful of us here, a handful of us there. We really wouldn't be able to put this together. Now we're starting to see who really runs the system. Who runs the system? Who voted this dude commander and powerful guy of finance, right? He's just the dude. He's the guy. He's the big player, the big boy on the block, and he can keep his other people like, I'm gonna help y'all out because y'all might be the big boys next week. Y'all might be the big boys next year. I might need y'all help, right? He did that. I mean, think about the move they made, the GameStop thing. This was the guy who was in cahoots with the dude who ran Robinhood. And it got to a point, it was like, all right, don't let your people on Robinhood buy any more of these shares. Only thing they can do is sell them. And that's how they were able to break the whole GameStop thing, which saved a bunch of his buddies, just like George Gammon was talking about. He scratched their back. They're going to scratch his down the road. Like it's what I'm saying. Just open your eyes and look at it, bro. This is the game. Y'all want some red pill? Y'all want some real red pill game right here? Here it is. This is red pill finance, man. The United States government is not in charge of the economy. The 1% is.
And here we go. The mainstream media coming in and saying, well, yeah, there's these problems in the banking, but nothing to see here, nothing to see here. Just turn on CNBC and listen to how well the economy is doing. The FDIC does not name the individual banks on the problem bank list. Oh, that's the naughty list. It's called the problem bank list. But the data indicated that the banks on the list were either small or mid-sized lenders. So don't worry about this, guys. Don't listen to George Gammon or anyone else on the alternative media space. If he's telling you there's some problems beneath the surface, it's just because he's fear-mongering, because he's trying to get clicks and views. That's what I always get accused of. But I want to point out, the reason they're saying don't worry is because the banks that are on the naughty list are very small and they're not systemically important. But was New York Community Bank on the naughty list? No. Was Signature? Was Silicon Valley? No. Was Credit Suisse? No. So the fact that the only banks on the naughty list are small banks really should give no one any assurance whatsoever when all these banks that blow up aren't even on the list to begin with. In fact, that's probably a contrarian indicator. Geez. Now let's think about this through the lens of the hot topic, the topic du jour. You see my French? I'm working on it here. The topic du jour, which is inflation and rapidly declining nominal GDP growth, real GDP growth. So,
and this is the kind of stuff where, mainstream is going to tell you what they're going to tell you, right? All the stories are like the same, no matter what platform you're listening to. You have to go to these alternative sites and listen to what they say and try to figure it out. And then when you bring it up, people try to shout you down, man, you listen, like you said, you're listening to those weirdos on YouTube. You're listening to those weirdos in those chat rooms. It's like, bro, they got charts. They got numbers, the same numbers, bro. In fact, every time they say something, they show a chart. We'll see it 3 months later on mainstream media for a hot second. When the government goes back and they do downward reviews, they do downward revisions on their numbers. which is the numbers that these people, these weirdos were saying up front. Like, you see what they're doing, bro. I mean, and people just get mad at you. And I mean, I ain't mad at folks for getting mad about it. You're too busy trying to figure your life out. You're too busy trying to make that dollar out of 15 cents, which really now you're trying to make that dollar out of 9 cents. There's a lot going on. I get it. But we have to get as much information as we can and sift through it and see if we can't find some truth in what they are saying. And if we can find some truth in that, now you got to ask the people that you elected into offices or the people who've been appointed to offices and get them to answer it. And they all start stuttering and talking fast. They know how bad it is, bro. They know how bad it is. George Gammon doesn't care about clicks and likes, bro. That guy's doing well. Millionaire, living in Colombia. Yeah, he's an older dude, silver fox dude with money, resources. He's walking around down there, man. He got to beat the women off with a stick, man. Flying around in helicopters just to get from point A to point B to have dinner and stuff like that. Because the dollar, his purchasing power is amazing in Colombia. He can come to America, do the same stuff. It's going to cost him more money because the purchasing power in America has gone down. He talks about that in his videos. Y'all should really go over there and check out the Rebel Capitalist, man. Check out George Gammon on YouTube. He has George Gammon page, Rebel Capitalist page. He does whiteboard stuff, so he just breaks it all the way down for you. Man, I'm telling you, it's worth checking out.
So let's first and foremost go to bank credit. And I've been pounding the table on this for quite some time. But we go back to August of 2022, and it's pretty much flat. That is not good. What this tells you is what we, in fact, just in seeing this, I'm looking at March of 2023 when it declined even further. But the spidey senses should have been on high alert right here when you see this uptrend, which is typical, but then you see this flattening out, just like we did right here, but they didn't have all the bailouts. The spidey senses should have been tingling right here with the banking system. This is telling you something is wrong underneath the surface. Something is really, really wrong. If the banks aren't increasing lending on net balance, that's because the perceived counterparty risk is skyrocketing. Remember, this has nothing to do with liquidity. This has nothing to do with bank reserves. This has nothing to do with the regulatory stuff or any of that. This simply has to do with banks seeing more and more risk. Therefore, they tighten lending standards, while at the same time, demand for loans is decreasing because the economy is not going up, but it's becoming more and more shaky. So what we see, going back to this FT article, is even if the banks that we have to worry about are just small and mid-size, it doesn't really matter for overall lending, because we have a bank go bust every 3 months, let's say. The big banks look at that and say, okay, counterparty risk, higher, not lower. And if counterparty risk is higher, I'm pulling back the reins. And why is bank credit so important? Because this is the main driver of the money supply. We look at M1, and that's, by the way, the 1970s. We discussed that in a video the other day. And because when people compare the 1970s to today from a standpoint of inflation, they conveniently leave this out, that the money supply was increasing massively back then. And although the money supply increased in 2020 and 2021, more recently, it's gone down. And again, as you guys know from watching my videos, you got to completely ignore this jump up right here, because that was just a change in the way that they measured M1. So let's look at M2, and you see the exact same thing. So the bottom line is what we know from seeing this further, or these further problems materialize within the banking system is that perceived counterparty risk within the monetary system as a whole, not just inside the United States, but likely outside of the United States, is increasing, which would lead you to the conclusion there's a higher probability that bank credit continues to flatline, if not decline. Very surprising if it goes up substantially under these conditions. And if it doesn't go up, then there's very low probability that the money supply aggregates go up to the point which would lead to sustained consumer price inflation. You can get bumps and kind of supply shocks, or you can get just bursts of inflation. And to be clear, it's not like the inflation comes back down or the prices come back down to the level they were before. That is not what I'm saying. They continue to increase, but they just increase at lower levels. And at a certain point, if you have enough banks go bust, like we saw in 2008, 2009, a financial crisis, then you could actually see a short burst of actual price deflation, like we saw in Q3 of 2009. But when I look at what's happening with the banking system, for me, that leaves me with a base case that is inflation will likely, or this most recent uptick in inflation will most likely be temporary. That's really the bottom line here, because I just don't see how it's sustained with all of the problems that they have in the banking system when they are the ones that are responsible for creating the currency units that would lead to the higher prices, leading to higher and higher prices. When you're looking at like the wage price spiral, or the price of oil going up, leading to the price of other goods going up at the same rate and continue going up, because oil's input for pretty much every single thing that we buy. That, to have sustained inflation, we need the 1970s, which is money supply going like this. And to have that, we need the banks lending. That's kind of my main focus with everything that's happening right now with, what was it? Republic First, or was it First Republic?
I mean, he's right too, bro. Like the banks aren't going to be lending anytime soon. They've tightened up. They've tightened the lending standards to such a point they're not willing to take the risk. They have way too much risk on the books as it is, and we haven't gotten into this commercial real estate, implosion. Someone's going to have to eat that money, and we're talking about trillions of dollars, and these banks can't handle it. This is why that's why First Republic went out. That's why Republic First is gone now. Silicon Valley is gone. I mean, you got all, because the interest rates have to go high in order to combat inflation. This is what I understand. And you can't lower the interest rates without inflation continuing to skyrocket. And I think someone was saying it in the chat, right now, going on right now, people are losing their jobs. Everyone's tightening their belt. Why? Because money is expensive. They can't borrow money. It costs too much. So they're going to have to cut. So all the money that they borrowed to hire folks, they're going to have to fire those folks. And a lot of people have been laid off, and they were getting paid. They were still on the books because they were getting severance and all that. Well, all that's about to run out. So all these numbers are going to start to change at the same time. Unemployment is going to go up. They need unemployment to go up so they can get inflation down. This is what they're trying to do. But no one's really paying attention to what was going on with the banks. Like, and Brother D-Mac, you made a good point there. You were saying that, let me say this, by tokenizing our stocks, index funds, real estate, and other valuable assets, we will open up to the world, allow people from developing countries to invest in our economy. With just a cell phone, we are going to make our markets accessible globally. This can and will initiate the Great Reset. Man, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna have to think on what you just said. I'm gonna have to think on that, because I'm with Brother Pablo. You know what I mean? It's like, aren't they already doing that? Most people all over the world, you look at the continent of Africa, for instance. The cell phone is the most valuable thing that people own. They do everything with their cell phones, bro. The money, everything. Don't carry cash. It's all on that phone. So, those people would, for example, have access to platforms like Robinhood where they can buy into American companies or British companies, United Kingdom companies or whatever you want to call it, English companies, Scottish companies, German companies, Chinese companies. I would imagine that's already what's going on. But brother D-Mac is saying, not at the level of the average man walking in the remote village. And those guys in the remote villages, man, I see what you're saying, brother D-Mac. I really do. I see where you're coming from. It's like, well, once that happens, the entire world comes into play. Of course, the smart money is going to be betting on America and American companies, Westernized companies. But I think that's going to be a small bump. I think that would be a small bump because everything will still be done via the dollar. It's just the dollar will be now, the dollar is a digital dollar, which is still controlled by America, the central bank, or all the central banks, and it's not backed by anything, right? The currency of the world is backed by faith. That's it. It's not backed by anything. So I don't know, bro. I'm gonna have to think about what you're saying. I'm gonna have to really give that some thought. You're like, they will be able to put their money into a stable economy as Venezuela about that. True. I get where you're coming from. I'm gonna have to definitely think about it. Venezuela is definitely a sad story, man. Argentina was imploding as well, but it just didn't go as bad as Venezuela. But you see how just everyone else is falling, bro. America, everyone is saying how America is such, the economy is great, got all this stuff going on, but everything is tied to US dollar. Everyone is tied to America. So like what's the expression of if America sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold? Well, America is coughing right now, uncontrollable hacking right now. So what does that mean for the rest of the world? And if the entire financial system does crumble, Americans will recover first. Americans will recover before everybody. I just wonder how that's going to look. Right? I'm just wondering, like, how is that going to look? But shout out to brother George Gammon. Let me shut this down. Shout out to brother George Gammon. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I really don't know. What I'm trying to do is just bring this to the forefront so folks can go out, talk to their friends, and you guys can all, share information, go look stuff up, and find some things because I'm curious to see what happens tomorrow on mainstream media. Is CNN going to be talking about this? We know Fox Business and CNBC is going to be talking about this, right? Because that's what they do. They talk about business stuff. But what about mainstream America? Are they going to be talking about it? So let's find out exactly what's going on. Let me see. There was something I wanted to read. It was 2 days ago. Okay, let's see what happened with Republic First Bank. Let's look at what happened. This is Associated Press. Let me pull this up. Let's see exactly how this went down. And there it is. Let's bring it up a little bit bigger. So this is Associated Press. This was a couple days ago. Regulators have closed Republic First Bank, a regional lender operating in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, right north, East Coast. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation said Friday that it had seized the Philadelphia-based bank, which did business as Republic Bank, and had roughly $6 billion in assets and $4 billion in deposits as of January 31st. Fulton Bank, which is based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, agreed to assume substantially all of the failed bank's deposits and buy essentially all of its assets, the agency said. So why would this bank come and buy all of this bad stuff? Why would they do that? There had to be some incentive. Someone had to tell them, hey man, do this and we're going to scratch our back now. We're going to scratch our back later. Who had a hand in this? Was this Janet Yellen? Was this Treasury saying do this for us? Do this for us, so we're gonna take care of you later. Is Treasury looking at their balance sheets and like, look, y'all ain't gonna get that far anyway. So take over this bank and we're gonna take care of y'all later. I wonder. but it took all that bad paper. Republic Bank, 32 branches will reopen as branches of Fulton Bank as early as Saturday. Republic First Bank depositors can access their funds via checks or ATM as early as Friday night, the FDIC said. So all this was worked out before Friday, y'all. The bank's failure is expected to cost the deposit insurance fund $667 million. I wonder how much money is left in that fund. The lender is the first FDIC insured institution to fail in the U.S. this year. The last bank failure, Citizens Bank, based in Sac City, Iowa, was November. January, February, March. So April. So it happened in April, at the end of April, right? But really, this bank failed. they couldn't lie anymore. So it made it through the first quarter, and it failed, the first month of the second quarter. Think about that. Was that by design as well? Let's continue with what these people are talking about. In a strong economy, an average of only 4 or 5 banks close each year. Rising interest rates and falling commercial real estate values, especially for office buildings grappling with surging vacancy rates following the pandemic, have heightened the financial risk for many regional and community banks. Outstanding loans backed by properties that have lost value make them a challenge to refinance. This is why the banks are going under. These corporations are walking away from the loans. Last month, an investment group, including Steve Mnuchin, who served as the U.S. Treasury Secretary during the Trump administration, agreed to pump more than $1 billion to rescue the New York Community Bancorp, which has been hammered by weakness in commercial real estate and growing pains resulting from its buyout of a distressed bank. So this is what George Gammon was talking about. New York Community Bancorp bought out one of the banks that failed last year. And now they're distressed, and all of their bad stuff is coming due, and they're stuck. Which is, and that's where they ended. It's like, well, hold on. We don't get no more. That's it. That's all y'all got to say. That's all y'all got to say, bro. Like, yeah, that was like growing pains because we bought out another bank that crashed. Y'all see what's going on. I think that Janet Yellen and the FDIC understand that there are a bunch of regional banks and maybe some of the larger banks that are not going to survive for long. So they've just been putting together this plan that they probably initiated a plan probably a year ago. This is how we're going to deal with this. And they telling Jerome Powell what they're doing. Hey, this is what we're going to do. Go ahead and keep those interest rates up because, we're going to stage it out. So it's not going to hurt that much. Right. And look at what they got going on. It's like Myron seems in tune with this, bro. One of the first texts I sent when this story broke was to Myron. I was telling Myron, like, hey, bro, make sure all of your accounts are underneath the FDIC cap, because I know he's doing a lot of stuff with his properties and stuff like that. Like, make sure that your stuff is underneath that cap, bro. You know what I mean? Because the government's not going to be able to save everybody. There's going to be people who have more than $250,000 in these accounts are going to get smited. Right? So if y'all got that kind of bread, man, make sure y'all moving that money around. Brother Pitney's like, the FDIC doesn't have unlimited resources. They can only seize so many depository institutions before things get out of hand. After enough banks failed, it could trigger a domino effect. Facts. They only have so much money. They were You can go back and watch on a PBD podcast. I'm gonna see if I can go find it. This was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. They had the amount of money that the FDIC had on hand. This was over a year ago. This is when all the Silicon Valley stuff hit. And we saw it. They posted it. You know what I mean? They only had so much money. And they're like, bro, they can't afford to bail out these banks, because they had the list of the naughty banks, and they were like, they can't afford to bail out all these banks. That was year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. As a fact. I'm telling you, this is, all of them are in cahoots. Treasury is working hand in glove with the FDIC, which probably falls under Treasury. I'm not sure. And they're working with the central bank with Jerome Powell, and they're trying their best to keep this thing from blowing up during this election cycle. That's another thing you got to keep in mind, bro. We got politicians out here trying to get reelected. You got politicians out here trying to get elected. This is bad news for an incumbent. This is bad news for anybody in America, anybody in politics, because it all ties to them. No matter what, it ties to them. If the FDIC becomes insolvent, that's when you get the massive run on the banks. That's when everybody pulls their money out the bank. And that's when now we're into a Great Depression. Forget a recession. We're into the Great Depression. Y'all remember the Great Depression back in the 20s, 30s? Now we'll be into the Great Depression. If the FDIC, now you're going to have a bailout of the people who's supposed to, the people who are supposed to bail people out. We don't have enough money in the FDIC. We'll have to take that money out of something to put that money in there so they can continue to do this. This is a very, very bad situation, y'all. So, NYCB, right? Let's figure out who they are. We're gonna look into this real quick. Let's figure out who they are. This is Yahoo Finance. Right. So NYCB investors await new CEO's vision as credit questions linger. NYCB shares plunge after January earnings. The stock was a relative winner among regional banks last year. And here's the chart, man. They were doing really, really good. And then there's the cliff right there. Looks like they fired their CEO. They're trying to deal with this. And it's been going down ever since. Right. Which is crazy, man. New York Community Bancorp Incorporated has had one of the most tumultuous quarters in recent banking history. Its first quarter earnings will probably reveal more about impacts from the drama and management's plan to move forward. Right? It is over the past 3 months, the Hicksville, New York based bank, let me find it again. My bad. Has replaced its chief executive officer twice. Right, so they've replaced the CEO twice, been hit by credit downgrades, and ultimately landed massive capital infusion that brought with it new investors and board members. When NYCB reports earnings expected next week, analysts will be eager to know how the bank's new leaders can mend the credit concerns and lapses that have hobbled the firm and ultimately shape it into an institution more like its regional banking peers, right? So NYCB is just ready to collapse. And if it wasn't for Steve Mnuchin coming along and his buddies and infusing all that money, they'd be gone. They'd be gone already. Right? The nice thing about having a new management team is you can distance yourself from the old management team, right? And that is from an analyst, Christopher McGrady. You can say, we inherited this, and this is our plan. Yeah, but if your plan doesn't work, what does it mean? The company shocked investors with its fourth quarter earnings report in January, when it slashed its dividends and set aside provisions to cover loan losses that were more than 10 times what analysts expected. The results ignited fear over the state of NYCB's commercial real estate loans and sent shares tumbling a record 38% in one day. This is not going to be the only bank dealing with this, y'all. This is not going to be the only one. NYCB, which snagged parts of Signature Bank last year after the regional lender failed, was grappling with credit deterioration in its portfolio of loans backed by rent-regulated New York City apartments and Manhattan office buildings. In the weeks that followed, credit ratings cuts and disclosures of material weaknesses and internal loan review controls further hammered the bank's shares. There's just no way to fix it. It just sounds like it just sounds like there was just no way to fix it. I mean, that's what it sounds like. In early March, a cohort of investors helmed by former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin's Liberty Strategic Capital interceded, injecting more than $1 billion into the beleaguered leader. Joseph Otting, a former controller of the currency who had previously teamed up with Mnuchin at One West during the bank's turnaround, was installed as NYCB's chief executive officer, replacing Alessandro Dinello, who had himself replaced Thomas Kangemi only days earlier. So this is the third CEO. Wow. With several of the investors taking seats on NYCB's board, the new management now at the helm, including a chief financial officer, head of commercial real estate lending, and general counsel named just 2 weeks ago, the version of NYCB's investors will see when the bank's reported earnings will be quite different than than what they saw 3 months ago. How do they expect these people to turn it around in such a short period of time when they still haven't gotten into the worst of the worst? I don't know. You put these people in it. If the airplane is crashing because the engines don't work, and I gave here's new pilots, so 2 new pilots up there. The engines still don't work. What are they gonna do? Right? How are you gonna get these engines working? We're losing altitude. Like, how are you gonna get these engines working? It's just one of those things, bro. I wouldn't want the job. And how much money did those outgoing CEOs get? You had two CEOs that they fired. Did both of those guys get a golden parachute? Did the guy come in for 2 weeks and then walk away with tens of millions of dollars? I just don't know. I just don't know. You gave the bank $1 billion. Is that enough? Is that enough? And again, this is way outside of my wheelhouse, guys. This is way outside of my wheelhouse. Analysts are expecting the company to post a loss for the first quarter, according to the average of estimates compiled by Bloomberg. The NYCB has yet to say when it's reporting first quarter results. So they don't even know when they're going to. Normally that's locked in. You have to make these reports by a certain time. So they haven't reported their first quarter's earnings yet, which everyone knows is going to be some losses. They fired CEO that they just hired. So they lift up the rock and saw all these creepy crawly things. It's like, oh my God, we're in a lot of trouble here. We're going to bring in Mnuchin and his boys. And okay, so they're going to push this meeting into the last possible minute, which is probably what they're going to do, because the information that they have to share with the world is horrific. The focus of the company's commentary is expected to be on its credit portfolio and the CEO's vision for moving the company forward. The plan should be straightforward and lay out specific targets and rough timelines, and include a focus on diversification, but not necessarily an increase in size. That's what they think is going to happen. Reducing the bank's commercial real estate concentration will take a Securities route. Citigroup Incorporated analyst Ben Gerlinger said in an interview, given the discount, such loans would trade at due to high interest rates, it would likely make more sense for the bank to offload other loans in the current environment. So now they're just talking to other bigwigs, trying to figure out how they're going to do this. The problem with this bank and all the other banks is the commercial real estate question. That's the problem. That's the problem. No one's going to be able to fix this. The only thing that's going to be able to fix this is a bailout. Management may also get asked about the status of retaining talent, given announcements by rivals in recent weeks that they had hired away teams of bankers. No one's going to stay on this sinking ship, right? Analysts are also looking for how much the company will build reserves this quarter. NYCB is expected to have a first quarter loan loss provision of $250 million, according to analysts' estimates. The goal should be to take capital levels to places where people won't question NYCB has enough, and to boost reserves to a point that won't raise similar questions, and as KBW analyst said that, it's a slippery slope, right? They have to build the reserves aggressively, which will weigh on their profitability, and make it justifiable, but also don't scare people, he said. Messaging is really important. Brothers, I don't think there's no way they're going to be able to fix this, man. They're not going to be able to fix that. They're not going to be able to fix it. They're not going to be able to fix it, bro. Brother Penny was like, not just money, manpower. When banks are seized, they appoint personnel to manage and oversee operations if they want to keep the bank afloat. Even if they want to close the bank, they need people to do the administrative work. That's a fact. And that's what they were saying, how they're going to keep people on board. People are going to want to leave. They're going to want to leave. We'll see you, brother. Thanks for hanging in there, man. Brother Pablo got to go. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. We're about to wrap this up. We just got one more article to look at. They're going to have to figure out all sorts of ways to keep this bank afloat. $1 billion influx, injection, whatever, however you want to put it. They gave them $250 million of that is already gone, right? 250, that billion might not be enough. And this might be, the government might be telling them, like, no more bailouts. We got nothing for you. And these are the people who've been screaming to to Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, please lower the interest rates. This is why. They were trying to get ahead of this problem. Please, please, please lower the interest rates. He's not doing it. He's not doing it unless he's going to do a complete about face this week. And they're going to announce that, we're going to actually, lower the rates. He's not going to do it. So this is just the first of many banks, right? Republic First went under. NYCB looks like they're about to go under. They're about to go under, man. There's one more thing I wanted to read, and then we're going to wrap this up. And we're going to wrap this all the way up. So this is about New York Community Bancorp Incorporated. New York Community Bancorp Incorporated is the parent company of Flagstar Bank, N.A., one of the largest regional banks in the country. So New York Community Bank is the parent company of one of the largest regional banks in the country, which is Flagstar Bank. If NYCB goes under, what happens to Flagstar? What do their books look like? Right? This is the thing. Like, what they're telling you, everything is okay, but NYCB they might not make it to next quarter. And they're the parent company of Flagstar Bank, which is the largest regional bank in the country. The largest regional bank in the country certainly has a lot of the commercial real estate debt on their books. One of the largest regional banks in the country. How is this not a problem? I don't know. The company is headquartered in Hicksville, New York. At December 31st, 2023, the company had $113.9 billion of assets, $85.8 billion of loans, deposits of $81.4 billion in total stockholders' equity of $8.4 billion. This is all NYCB. Flagstar Bank, NA, operates 420 branches, including strong footholds in the Northeast and Midwest and exposure to high growth markets in the Southeast and West Coast. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So Flagstar, they're in the Northeast. So what does that mean? New York, right? Boston, Philly, all the big cities in the Northeast. They're in the Midwest, Chicago, right? Cincinnati. You know what I mean? You're looking at Indianapolis, Kansas City, all of them, to large to mid-sized cities in the Midwest and the West Coast. It don't matter where they are on the West Coast. You already know what time that is. They're on the West Coast, bro. Flagstar Mortgage operates nationally through a wholesale network of approximately 3,000 third-party mortgage orienters. In addition, the bank has 134 private banking teams located in over 10 cities in the metropolitan New York region and on the West Coast, which serve the needs of high net worth individuals and their businesses. Oh, bro. Remember that name, y'all. Flagstar Bank. Remember that name. New York Community Bank. And then the company that's under them, Flagstar Bank. Remember that name. I bet you by the end of this quarter, by June, I bet you we'll be hearing about them. The New York Community Bank Corp Incorporated has market leading positions in several national businesses, including multifamily lending, mortgage orientation and servicing, and warehouse lending. Flagstar Mortgage is the 7th largest bank originator of the residential mortgages for the 12 months ending in December 31st, 2023, while we are the industry's 5th largest sub-servicer of mortgage loans nationwide, servicing 1.4 million accounts with $382 billion in unpaid principal balances. Additionally, the company is the 2nd largest mortgage warehouse lender nationally based on total commitments. Warehouse. They're in everything, bro. That's who they are. Damn. These two banks go under, bro. It's going to be a problem. You ain't going to be able to hide it no more. Them two banks go under. You ain't going to be able to hide it no more, y'all. And I'm sorry, I'm a terrible reader, but I was just kind of looking at that stuff. Them two banks go under, bro. If NYCB goes under, it's taking Flagstar with it. You know what I mean? It's just gonna take it with it. Damn. I definitely need to find a pro. I need to find somebody who understands this world. I don't understand this world. That's why it's so hard for me to even read it, because this is so strange to me. Like the warehouse stuff, I guess that's, warehouse businesses and stuff like that. Oh, man, these two banks go under, bro, because think about what they just said, man. That's all they have is commercial real estate on their books, bro. They 85.5 billion in loans, man. How much of that is corporate real estate? The vast majority of it. $113.9 billion of assets, which is buildings. And that's another thing too. So you got $113.9 billion of assets. All right. What assets are we talking about, man? We're talking about these skyscrapers. We're talking about these big buildings and all these, real estate properties and warehouses and all that. What is it worth now? 113.9 billion. Has that gone up? Probably not. It's gone down. So yeah, their assets is losing money. This is why they're going out of business. They got $85.8 billion of loans out there. Damn. $85.8 billion of loans out there and only $8.4 billion of assets. Total stockholders' equity, right? Money, 8.4 billion. Man, they got a problem. They got a problem. They got a problem, bro. Man, this. So that was New York, NYCB, New York Community Bank Corp. One of the largest regional banks in the country. And they own Flagstar Bank, which operates 420 branches. And they're in the Northeast, Midwest, and out West. They had growth in markets in the Southeast and out West. So they're down in Atlanta. They're down in Charlotte. They're down in the Carolinas, bro. You feel me? They're probably down here in Miami because this Flagstar Bank only deals with big money people, rich folk. Deal with rich folk. And they deal with folks through a wholesale network. Damn. I mean, I'm just looking at this, man. Flagstar Mortgage is the 7th largest bank originator of residential mortgages. They're the 7th largest bank for home loans. And they already just said that they deal with the high net worth people. They out West Coast. Man, these people ain't, man. Oh my goodness. No one's talking about this. No one is talking about this, bro. This is crazy. Wonderful 34 is in the building. What's good, fam? Hey, I'm gonna wrap this up, man. I'm just saying, remember that, man. Remember that name, Flagstar. Flagstar Bank, man. Remember that name. They're tied to NYCB. NYCB is probably gonna go under. NYCB has, I think I put on here. Let me see if I can find it. I won't show you guys. I just want to show it. So New York Community Bank Corp, Inc. Announces June 5th date for the 2024 annual meeting of shareholders. So we won't find out until June 5th what's going on with them. So they got themselves a little time to get it right. Yeah, they got a little time to get it right. But it's June. June is when it's gonna happen, y'all. Man, this is crazy, brother D Mac, DL saying the new tech financial companies that have entered the market in the last several years are outperforming the traditional banking markets. The banking industry will have to change or get left. Maybe that's what it is, bro. These new tech financial companies are making record profits with fewer employees. Hey, man, like I said, you know more about this stuff than I do, brother. You know way more about bro. I'm just looking at the fact that I didn't realize how big these dudes were. I knew nothing about New York Community Bank Corp, and I certainly never heard of Flagstar Bank. I'm not in that world. And these are two of the largest regional banks in America. Flagstar is number 7. And they just have, NYCB as one of the largest regional banks in the country. Man, this is crazy. There's 2 of the largest regional banks who are up to their necks in commercial real estate because that's where their business lies, right? Flagstar gives they get loans to the rich folks out here getting these multi-million-dollar homes and stuff like that, and to warehouses, and my goodness. So when these corporations walk away from these loans because the interest rates are too high, these banks are going to go under, bro. These banks are going to go under. Man, Wow. All right. Well, I just wanted to throw that out there, bro. That's that. Right? That's that. Next time we talk, guys, we're going to be talking about red pill stuff, man. I might even have to do a show on air traffic control just so I could talk about something I know. I don't know nothing about this. I'm just reading this and I'm putting it through the old think tank, bro. And America needs to do that, man. Put it through the old
tank. Arch. Nothing gets past the old think tank. Nothing.
Put it through the old think tank, guys. New York Community Bank. Their numbers come out in June. Everyone's waiting on these numbers, bro. I think it's going to be a problem. And I think what they're doing is they're looking for more money. They're looking for a bailout. Will they find it? That's the question. And if they don't get bailed out, they go down. And if they go down, Flagstar Bank goes down with them. And then that's it. That's going to begin. That's going to open the floodgates. And all these other banks are going to be dealing with the same problem. And then, okay, they're going to say, well, the government has to bail get these banks out. And then the politicians are going to do what they can to come up with some money that we just don't have. Or they're going to somehow pressure Jerome Powell into lowering the interest rates and still going to have to bail these people out. We don't have that. So if 3 or 4 of these banks, they say if 4 banks go under, anything over 4 means it's a bad economy, right? So if we only get 3 more banks go under, that'll put us at the 4 limit, and then the bank that goes under after that. Man, this is crazy, bro. Oh, this is crazy. I'm gonna keep my eye on this, guys. I'm gonna have to try to send some messages to George Gammon. I don't know him personally, but Myron and Fresh do. I'm gonna have to maybe send or watch his content. I'm gonna continue to watch his stuff, see what they're talking about. Guys, it's about to get ugly. And if they do come with a government bailout of these regional banks, they're gonna have to put something in there for Main Street. They're gonna bail out Wall Street. They're gonna have to put some money in there for Main Street. And this is why interest rates and purchasing power is, all messed up. Now interest rates are going up because inflation is getting out of control. If we do this bailout, that's going to make inflation go up even more. This is a mess, guys. This is a mess. Well, I gotta go. I gotta go. I don't even know what's going on. I can't even think straight right now. I need to go sleep. I got to get up extra early. My daughter has a big field trip tomorrow. I got to get up extra early for that. Man, this is crazy. Just remember those names, guys. NYCB, New York Community Bank, and Flagstar Bank. Keep your eye on those 2 institutions. Let's see what happens moving forward. Whew. I hope it all works out. I really do. But I don't know, man. It ain't looking good. I got to go. Y'all have a good night. I'll talk to y'all later. I'm D.O. Saint. This is the I Really Want to Know podcast. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.